And
It's
we're
happening.
recording. We're recording. It's spontaneous. I don't even know what episode we're at, but I do know that this is the That Does Not Belong to Me podcast with your host, Jamie Moore. And today I have my friend Joshua with me.
Hi, I love you.
So there's already a podcast called Giggly Squad out, but otherwise I think that would be what we are today.
I think that's us, and I think it should be. I've
You're
missed you.
Paige and I'm
I
Hannah,
remember
okay?
you.
Do you know them at all?
I don't know them, but if there's not a copyright issue, that might be us.
They're from Summer House. It's a Bravo TV show.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
yeah, they just basically are New Yorkers who rent a house in the Hamptons every summer, and the show is about their weekends in the Hamptons. And they do like themed parties, so they have like, I don't know, Fourth of July parties, and then go really over the top in terms of like costumes and decor and all of that. So, anyways, they're like grown-ups and they do this, so that's kind of fun.
Okay, well, I'm gonna manifest right now that they are gonna call both of us on as guests.
Hashtag gigglies. We're gigglers.
Like a quick trip to the hand. And my apologies. I knew as soon as I got on here that my absolutely insatiable chihuahua would begin to lose her mind.
I
So
can't even hear that sweet pup. So
you can't. Well, maybe I'll get her upstairs so that she stops because she has like this tendency. As soon as I sit down, as soon as I'm on the phone, she's like, shit is on.
don't even worry about it. I love that about her. Her
Okay,
or him?
quiet. Yes, her. Yeah, she is. I love her so much. She runs the house, and unfortunately, she's gotten to the point where she knows it. So I don't know what to do.
Yeah, that's fair. Marley too. I just feel like he's in control of my entire existence. And whenever I'm not with him, I'm feeling guilty about not being with him.
Right.
So
They
that's
are full-on children. Like there's no other way around it.
Okay, let's officially get started. So,
Oh my God, yes.
Joshua and I met probably in, I want to say 2020. Let me start by saying too that you're a projector, right?
Yes.
I forget to talk about human design anymore. I'm like, I don't really do it anymore. So even though I'm writing a book
Who
about it,
cares? You
even
talk
though
about
this
whatever the fuck you
podcast
want. It's
is,
your podcast.
I can do what I want. But I do love that you're a projector. Do you still go by that? Do you still
I
identify
do.
as?
I don't like, I think maybe around the same time that you started stepping out of human design, I did too. I just sort of like have had my own journey with spirituality and that side of it. It's like I'll go in and out of things, and now I've sort of found I really go with what I'm feeling over, like, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like the projector thing for a long time was like, oh yeah, I really relate to that. And then there were parts of it I didn't, and I thought
And
that's okay.
we
Like you
just
don't
give an idea, like to remind people what it is to be a projector, like what like the textbook would tell you, and like what did you what actually felt right when you first learned about that? That was like reassuring when you first learned.
Oh yeah.
Is it like
Well,
the shorter work days, the more like efficient energy that you don't have that like sacral busy bee like internal energy? That,
1000% still relate to that.
yeah.
Like if I had a choice, I would not, I mean, I would work hard for like 3 days. And I get so much shit done if I focus in one day and I don't need all this extra work time. So, like, my day job's a school, and I keep saying, I'm like, you guys, we need 4 work days because us and the kids are doing nothing on this fifth day. Like, we're doing nothing. And I still feel that way that it's like I function better with shorter, really strong focus bursts, and I can get a lot of shit done, and then I need like a lot of time to rest and recharge. And yeah, so
So
she's still on her throne.
that's still real for you. That's
That's
still
still so real.
so
Yeah.
where do you recall or can you speak to what like doesn't like where when you kind of stepped out of human design or where you're like kind of like over it or not feeling it as much? Were there certain reasons or are you're just changing because we're always doing that?
I think it was around the time where I started really trying to focus. Like I tried to look outside myself for a lot of answers, like in human design and in tarot, and it became almost like I was looking for something else to make the decision. And I think that's when I just kind of started stripping it away. Not that it wasn't maybe relevant, or not that there were specific things that I was like, oh, fuck that. It was more like if I continue on this path, I can see myself really going outside myself for decisions because I wasn't historically good at them. And I was like, I've got to find a way to start to make decisions based on myself and not what these external sources are telling me, including human design, including tarot, including
Astrology.
astrology. Yeah, like all the things that I wanted to like really grab onto for those started to become almost, I was too reliant. So
It's
I
so interesting because I feel like human design tries to teach you to tune in, right? Because it's really about finding that like inner authority that's not your mind, and it's like this inner guidance. But you're not wrong, I think, in saying that it's still this like not a crutch, but it's like something that we can like say, oh no, you know, you can tell me what to do, this like method or modality or whatever. Um, but it's meant to like guide you to knowing that within yourself. So it's not necessarily, but it is still a handbook. It's still a guidebook, right? That's like,
Mhm.
here's who you are, this is your blueprint, this is how you were born. And there can be so much reassurance to that and permission slips and all of that, but it still is taking away our own internal power in a certain way. And I think that's similar to when I stopped. It was actually around when I started going more from less from doing like individual readings, which I had like a burnout of because it was just becoming like autopilot and just repeating the same things. I'm like, even though everyone is like a unique snowflake, um, there's still like a manifesting generator that has some qualities of a manifesting generator. So but then I started doing like in group workshops where I would talk about all the different energy types. And I
Oh,
really liked that, but I started finding it hard to communicate it because I was like, I'm sure there are things that you hear about being a Manny Gen. Like maybe you have a couple books on the go, like having your hands in a few. And then we start to think like, and they always say it's not putting you in a box. It's not doing that, but it is kind of, we're not supposed to let it, but it is. So that's where I'm like, when I'm giving these like group things where I'm like, okay, here's about you, but also if what I'm saying about that person relates to you, then like you take that too. And then I found I was confusing. I feel like I was confusing people, or it was hard to stand like empowered in the belief system when I was just like, yeah, but just like do what you want. And
yeah.
also like,
But
I
like
don't
fuck everything I'm saying, so it's cool.
know.
Well, what's funny, isn't it? Isn't the projector also where it takes a little bit of time to make a decision?
Yes. Well, it depends
Like
on your authority. Do you remember your authority? Is it emotional, like the solar plexus, or because that one would be like you need to ride out the waves of emotion before making a decision, or there's the spleen, which is more intuitive and like go for it. But I don't, we probably should have looked it up before we jumped on this call.
I know, but this totally fits our brand. I feel like it was, if I'm remembering correctly, I feel like it was the wait a while one.
Yeah,
Um, the only reason I say that is I
go
think
with that.
yeah, that's what we're going with. That's what it was. Um, is I feel like the more I stepped away from it, the more I returned to it because it wasn't telling me to do it. I wasn't like trying to go by these external sources. And then I found I actually did start to feel things more and listen to things more. And I did realize, oh, you do need time before you react to make a decision. You do get like this initial burst of anxiety and uncertainty. And after you step back, it's like way clearer. And so funny that a lot of the things that do come out of those sources did return to me, but it had to be on my own terms, or else it's like
Mm,
the I didn't buy into it, if that makes sense, as much when it's being told to me versus when I just kind of shed it away and then moved forward with that knowledge in the background and
yeah.
then sort of what was guiding. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. And I also think everyone should like maybe take a beat before making a decision. That's coming back to kind of what I was saying, right? Where it's like, and there are going to be moments where you, even if that is your authority, like need to be spontaneous and just go on that whim or and so,
Hmm.
um, yeah, anything goes.
Hell yeah, anything goes.
So we first met through Robin, right? Through
Right.
Life Rehab.
Yeah.
And I give so much
Years ago.
credit. I still need to let her know. I think I've told her in the past, like I still follow her. She's changed brands and done many different things throughout. And she's kind of come and gone in my personal like vision, let's say. But I still give her so much credit for like my start on this big life change and like also for getting to meet people like you. And Life Rehab was like a 10-day, I think it was 10 days or it was like 10 little mini videos of just like life tips, right? Like, and I
Hmm.
still think that one was like the one, like, and then everything gets so complicated in the world of like coaching and personal development, and then we try to fix all the things and, figure out all the strategies and things that we should be using to make our lives as best as possible. And like we
Totally.
overcomplicate it. So I'm like, we just need to go back to those simpler days.
Yeah, I mean that's what's funny is I don't know if you're going to ask this later or ask this now, but there's you always ask the question what aligns with you. Um, and I'm just bringing it up now because I feel like it's really on topic. What I was going to say
Good.
about it is that I've been trying so hard to listen to this internal like gut instinct is my big return to right now is like how can I listen to my body? How can I listen to these feelings? And I think that's part of what that was life rehab was how can you get in tune with what you're feeling, what you're manifesting. And it's funny because it's like I bounce around trying to get answers from everybody else. And then what I really turned inwards was like, well, what are you feeling? And sometimes that's people, sometimes that's partnerships, sometimes that's decisions. But I find when I'm listening to myself, even if I have to take a day or two, that you get a feeling and it's just yes or no.
Mm,
It's like good or bad. And sometimes it's the bad is not even that it doesn't make sense because it might make sense on paper. That person isn't mean to you. That person like is
yeah.
nice or that partnership is convenient. But are you what's your gut instinct? And if I listen to that appropriately and take that action, it's like still rings true that usually that's right.
It's generally never wrong, yeah. And I said that the other day in an Instagram thing of just like if something feels out of alignment or misaligned, like it probably just is. Like
Hmm.
it's just coming back to that simplicity. It's exactly what you're saying of that feeling that we have when something feels like if you dread it, if you're like resistant to it, all of these like feelings that we just kind of shove aside when we're like, yeah, but no, I said I'd do it. Or like, yeah, but no,
Yeah.
what I'm committed to, and like I'm going through that right now of just questioning not everything. Like I'm still happily married. I'm still like loving so many components of my life, but like I'm taking a pause from coaching because I'm also feeling like I'm really in a moment and not in a way of discrediting me, but I'm in a moment of like, who am I to help people. And mainly because I feel like I'm like burning shit down a little bit and not like even, like I'm questioning my business that with the marina, like my role there of running a restaurant. And I'm like really like if I really tap in exactly what we're saying, I don't really want to be a restaurant manager anymore. I don't want to do food orders. And like right now it's probably busy and I'm like feeling bad about not being, like I don't really want to have that
You
feeling
know.
anymore, right? But it doesn't mean I'm
Mhm.
like gonna like next year never not be a part of it or we're gonna sell it or like so it's not always so cut and dry too when we have those feelings of like this isn't quite it. And it doesn't mean it needs to be like, like finished forever or like a complete 180, but we do have to do something about it. So that's where I'm in like a bit of a like, I don't know, just I'm not sure what the solution is, right? And that's okay too. Obviously, we don't always know the answer right away.
Totally. Don't ever feel bad about not being at a busy restaurant because there will always be hungry fucking people waiting to complain about something.
Oh my
No,
God.
there's good sides to it too, but I have been there where it's like that's you know what, this is not for me, and I have to. The change part is the hardest because it's like, well, what the fuck do I do then? It's like I have all these things already lined up. I'm already in this position. I'm already committed to this, and the change is always what's hardest for
And it's
me.
like not even like say for this example, let's say I like still remain a part owner of the marina and I find someone to manage the restaurant. And it's going to be like, I'm making it seem like it's got to be this unicorn of a person who, because I feel like I have a lot in my brain about that place just because I've been there for so long and we've been doing things a
Hmm.
certain way. It doesn't mean I'm not, I say this a lot, but like everyone's replaceable. Like we can, we're not, I'm not that special. So, I mean, I am, but
You are, you
you know,
are.
I
You were kidding.
am. But I don't remember where I was going with that.
That we're not irreplaceable, or that
We're
we are
not. We
irreplaceable,
are,
but you're
yeah,
not
but we're not.
specifically.
It was something about like if I did find if I did find that person that could like replace that role for me. I still don't really know, but doing to normalize losing trains of thought. But I do think I would be okay. Like I would definitely still have a lot of good things going on. It wouldn't, I don't think I would feel a void necessarily, which I think can be a scary thing if you're letting something go. There can be like an emptiness that can come with that, and I'm not sure if I would feel it. If I did it the right way. It's like a very specific thing that I'm gonna need to you know, make happen. I wanted to ask too, what could you want to give like not that we're in a rush, but like almost like a Cliff's Notes version of your experience of your like let's say career path because I want to talk about music, which is what you're like bringing to focus, but you're also teaching now. But when we first knew each other, you were like managing an inn, right?
Oh my God. Yeah,
So
I've had,
you've also been in customer service as yeah.
girl, I've had an Angelina Jolie action movie of a career path. Oops, I hope that little sip was silent. I hope that's a little silent sip of water there.
Good for
But
everyone.
so yeah, I was managing an inn, and I did that for 5 or 6 years. It was
Where? Where do you live again?
where the hell are you? Silverton is where I ran the inn, and then outside of Silverton is where we live now, in this cute little place called Sublimity. And but I'm
Felicity?
Sublimity, yeah.
Felicity. Oh,
hmm But I mostly like do music in the Salem area, in the Portland area. But the inn, like we had to part ways. It was one of those things where it's like there was nowhere to go. I couldn't get a raise. There was no like it just kind of came to an end and had to.
yeah.
And so then I went from there to being an assistant manager at a restaurant, which I've done customer service for years and years, and I think what it comes down to is I got okay at it, but it was in that role at the assistant manager of this restaurant where that's a very intense industry. Like the back house of that is extremely intense in most of the restaurants I've worked in, but this one too. And being assistant manager, there was a lot of pressure. There was a lot. I don't like jobs where things get really contentious or you're yelling or like you're throwing a fit and then you have to go out and be all chip. It was
Yeah.
very schizophrenic. Nothing against that. But so it was during that time that I started singing and performing. And then it became
At the restaurant?
this. Yeah, when I was working at the restaurant, there's this thing called sidewalk shindig that happens in Silverton where it's like it's a lot of cities do it, but it's several businesses, almost all of them will combine and they'll do different sets for different artists throughout the day. So there's all these businesses that have all these musicians that play
I
at
love that.
different places at different slots.
Yeah.
So that was my first one like three-ish years ago, I think. And so I did that and then started to get like little gigs here or there. And then as the gigs increased, the anxiety increased around the restaurant because it was really hard to get that time off. And the
Mm,
boss was not necessarily excited for that. And so every time I would get a gig, I would get terrible anxiety about it. And I was like, this is not the way to grow music. This is not the way to grow. If I want to do this, this is not the way to make it happen because you're going to surround that feeling with anxiety every time you get an opportunity. And so, and like I had to talk to my husband about it, and I was like, I have to make a change because the responsible part of me who spent years growing my resume, years trying to be a general manager and a manager and somebody who would make us money, looks 5, 10 years down the line, and I was like, this guy's going to be an absolute asshole. He's
mm,
going to be super gay and bitchy in a bad way.
yeah.
That's a good way. And in a bad way, I'm just going to be upset. I'm not going to be happy. Sure, maybe we've got a family and we're taken care of and we're paid for, but there's going to be like nothing left. I'm just going to be this frustrated person. And that just scared the shit out of me. And so I was like, I got to change. Like, I got to change. And music felt, it was hard, but it felt like what I wanted to do. And it always was what I wanted to do. I just never had the guts to do it until my grandpa passed away. And so after doing that, it was like that was the calling. That was the thing that would never stop knocking on my door if I closed that door. That was the thing that would never let me sleep if I didn't pay attention to it. And so I had to switch. And we went on like a short beach trip, and one of my friends and her wife met up with us, and they said, "Oh, you should apply to be a substitute teacher. Like they work all the time whenever they want." And I said, "Okay." So I went online, and as you know, I am not tech savvy. I am a full-on golden girl with the shoulder pads when it comes to any type of technological, literally anything. So I went on and I was like, I'm so cool. I'm going to apply to be a substitute teacher. And on accident, I applied for fucking everything in the district. I like clicked all the boxes and I thought, oh yeah, these are just substitute positions for like all these, it's fine. And so I told my husband, he's like, do you even know what a behavior specialist is? And I was like, no, but it's a substitute teacher. He's like, no, honey, it's not. You're no. So I applied for everything,
You got all the
and
jobs?
all the jobs. Hey, girl, there's a change, and got interviewed for several. They were just instructional assistant positions, which is like an assistant to the teacher. And certain classrooms have one, certain ones have, you know, 10. And so this was the first kind of dabble in the gut feeling. Was I got two or three different positions offered, and I just had this gut feeling to go with this high school. And so I went with that, and it ended up being like a really perfect fit. And it's special education. It's the highest needs classroom in that school. And there's several other teaching assistants in it, or instructional assistants. And so I took that position, and it worked out perfect with music because it's like it's days and it's weekends off. I could say yes to every gig. The first year that I did it, they had a giant reduction in force, and I was new, so they fired me. Like they riffed me is what they called it. And then I was like, this is cool, that's fine. And then I like squirreled my way back in with HR. I kept calling her, and now we're friends. Which I'm inappropriate, so it's important that I'm friends with HR. And she got me the same job back at the same school, and so I went back, and that's what I've been doing. And it's a big change. It is maybe half of the money I used to make at the restaurant, but I worked my way up, and all the gigs I take are paid gigs now, so
That's great.
it makes up for some of it. And it's just like I can't go back to that person that I was before because that wasn't me. I was like this yes man doormat of a person
Yeah.
who it's not my personality, like listen to me. I'm not
Yeah.
that wasn't working for me, and so I had to make that change. And it was hard for me. It was hard for my husband too because it was like a big, oh well, we're not going on this kind of corporate
Yeah.
management path. We're not living this certainty pathway. We're going into a very uncertain realm. But it like he's been super supportive, and
Sure,
it's
he wants you to be happy and not like a shell of a person.
yeah, like gay and bitchy in a good way.
Yeah, not the bad way. And you're doing summer school? You don't even do summers off?
No, well, yes, I'm doing summer school, which is in summer's the busiest time for music. So I definitely there's definite balance there. And it's only 4 hours a day, but it's what's funny is it's in one building, and it's excuse me, it's special education, but it's from the whole district, and it's all ages in one building.
Oh,
So
that's
just like, here you go, here you like bye. And so it's kind of hilarious, and
nice.
it's like definitely a sitcom,
Oh
but
man, I worked with that population. I love it, but it's yeah. I mean, already you've got like people of the same age and it's like, still a variety of characteristics and, personalities. So that's fun.
totally. Yeah, so it is a good time, but what's great is I get to not have anxiety around gigs. I can say
Oh,
yes.
great.
I set that boundary when I very first got hired. I said I am a musician. I do take it seriously. I'm professional, and I'll book it. I usually book in advance, but there will be times where I'm going to have to miss school, and I'm not gonna say no to these
Yeah.
opportunities. And so that's really reassuring too, because I never set boundaries in any of my other jobs. It was always just yes, 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 give me the position. And so now nothing's come up, but if it does, I can say, you know what? I set
Yeah.
that boundary when I got hired. So
You
there's no
did.
pushback here. We talked about it. I'm good. And that feels really reassuring to know that I put a boundary in place like from day one.
Yeah. Smart. You're getting there. Look at you go.
I'm
Look at
trying so
you.
hard, girl. I'm trying so
Well,
hard.
and speaking of, because I think that was one of the things in Life Rehab was boundaries. I remember that was one of the videos. And I'm really curious your thoughts on, we could say like the coaching industry at this point, or even just like personal development. That's part one of the question, if you have any thoughts. If you don't, we can skip right to part two, which is what are your thoughts on the let them theory, if you have any thoughts on that, because I'm curious.
Yeah. So do you just mean thoughts in general about personal development?
Yeah, like I mean, just especially let's say on, I mean, obviously personal development is good. Developing the personal self is like a good thing, but I'm just thinking like the industry that is like I feel like it's gone rampant in like I don't know. I'm just so curious about like people who have been in it too, not necessarily as a coach or whatever, but like you've paid people to be in their programs, even myself and all
Mhm.
of that. And yeah, I'm just curious where you're at in that world now, because I'm also like questioning things. So
Yeah, I think I have a lot of mixed feelings because there's so many facets of that industry, and like I had good experiences and bad experiences in the beginning. I've had great experiences with you. I think you're super authentic, and I did have good experiences with those first kind of groups. There was some interesting experiences where I felt like I kind of got into a secondary group for maybe the wrong reason. I was sort of like the only guy, and that felt really good, but then I sort of became, I think, maybe this token gay, if you will, and it like sort of I realized wasn't created for that, but became that, and then I kind of stepped away and sort of evaluated, okay, that was sort of the beginning of like, well, you're having these other people make decisions for you, you're being in these groups, and why are you being in these groups? Are you doing it to get help, or are you doing it because it feels really good to be in a group and people are liking you and people are talking to you? Is that, like, why are you doing this? And so I think in the industry it's like it's now I'm very careful because people, what it comes down to is they're trying to sell you shit. They really, you got to make money. If that's your career, you got to make money. And so it's like authenticity is really important. And it's like, what are you looking for and what are they talking about? Are sometimes two different things. Like I just bought a program from a music. She's she's a small scale producer and also a vocal coach and teacher from New York. But I followed her for 2 years before I purchased from her. And I listened to her live every week. I did her free workshops, and I was very careful to be like, what are you talking about? And are you just hyping yourself up? And then when her teaching started to align with my vocal teacher that I pay a decent amount every month, when those started to align, and kept aligning, then I realized, okay, I think she does know. And then I did little things like she gave some warm ups and it started to make a difference to me. So then I purchased her program because it's like I'm seeing that what you're offering me has made a difference, even on this small scale. What you're saying has aligned with a lot of the other things that I've gathered, the other research that's important to me that I stay on this path. And so I think that's what it really comes down to is there are people everywhere ready to take your money to tell you shit, and we're all in it together. And so it's like, where are they coming from? Where's their authenticity? What are they talking about? And how does it align with what you're looking for?
totally. And it like, do they have a proof of impact or transformation? And like, I know when someone's starting out, they're not going to necessarily have those like testimonials or whatever, but that's a huge part of it, right? So there needs to be that trust there, like those, that idea that you need to know, like, and trust them. It gets said a lot, but I do think for anything that is the truth. For any purchase we're making, you want to know the person, you want to like them, and definitely you want to trust them if you're, especially if it's a transaction of like money for service or for learning. And I'm like, I realizing, when you sign up for something, usually you have an issue, a problem, a challenge, something that you want to change, and then you think that that person can help fix that, right? Help change that. And you have to be a very proactive participant in that. Just because you've paid the money, just because you show up
Hmm.
for the calls even, or watch the replays, which is huge if you do that, doesn't mean the change is just going to magically happen, right? So, yeah, like you said, there's like a lot of layers to it. But I did realize at a certain point, and like for a long time, I would say it was like, that sounds dramatic, but like a form of an addiction of like, what's the next thing? And I was very easily not like convinced, I guess, that this was the thing I needed and this was the thing I needed and this was gonna fix. I don't even know what, like fix what, I don't know, but like
Totally.
it's just, and I think part of it too, as I was stepping in as a coach, it was really from a place of curiosity too, which is not a bad thing, but it's like, how are they leading this? What is going on in here? And I would just like, use that information to try to help my own coaching as well. But not that long ago, so I do use ChatGPT sometimes. I try to be careful because environment and whatnot. But I was chatting with ChatGPT, like kind of as my therapist for a second, because um, I was just telling
Do
it that
it.
I have all of these like courses or programs that I haven't completed yet that are like in a folder in my Gmail of courses, right? That I was like, please help me figure out how to like create a schedule or something of like priority or whatever. But then one of the things I asked it was like, also, can you give me like an empowered statement that reminds me that I don't need to buy more courses? Like, I don't need to buy another. And I can't remember what it said, but it was like really impactful. And I actually should have put it on a post-it note on my computer. But honestly, even after just like reading that, it didn't like, I can't remember word for word what it said, but it impacted me in a way that I've like actually, I keep thinking of that if ever I get like a little bit like persuaded by an email that comes in about like a new writing class or something like that. And I'm like, no, you still haven't finished the ones in your folder. You still have things in there, you know? So like
ChatGPT
you
said,
don't
don't
need
fucking
it.
do it, girl.
Yeah. Yeah, it was very wise. It was very wise. So yeah, I think there's like, I mean, it's like with anything, right? There's a lot of really good, authentic people. There's a lot of people like, and I've been like recently a couple of experiences. I took my reformer Pilates, right? Teacher training, and it was
Oh,
really
yeah.
neat to see a group of like 18 people that were like really passionate about moving our bodies and teaching others to do the same in a healthy way or as healthy as possible, you know? And it's like it gives you hope for that industry, right? And then more recently I was at this like women's gathering called Regather, and it was for leaders, like it was for our yoga teachers, coaches, of anyone who like guides and holds space for others. So it was like a 50-person event at this beautiful vineyard that was like a castle. And it was interesting to be
Ooh.
there. And it was with my like yoga teacher who I love and took my yoga teacher training with. And there was a bunch of people I recognized like from Montreal. It was like blast from the past. And but I felt like out of place. Like I felt, but I was like it was cool to experience that. Anyways, I wasn't like, oh, this doesn't fit anymore. And like people talking about their inner child and happy to be, you know, I was just like, I'm so happy for that for you. It's just like, and I realized that I felt that way too when I started to become a yoga teacher. And I was like, I'm not really like, and it's not bad to drink the Kool-Aid. Like I'm not like the Kool-Aid tastes good sometimes, but I never felt like immersed in it so fully that I was like, I don't know. I was just like, I'm gonna just teach yoga and then I'm also gonna like be a person that like, does other things. So I don't know. It's just been cool to like have these experiences that remind me like it's okay to not be all in or to not be, I don't know. I still don't
It
know.
might be better. And I think for you,
Yeah, I'm
like,
better.
you are better. You're a better person than anyone. I'm so
Really, this
sorry
podcast has
for anyone else
really
who's
boosted
listening
my
to this.
ego. I've been boosting my own ego. You turned me on. Thank you. It's exactly what I needed.
But I think, like, there are tons of people who are ready to serve the Kool-Aid and who can hype themselves up without even necessarily having a lot of understanding of what they're talking about.
What's in the
And
Kool-Aid?
so I think that's
What ingredients?
people want people like you, where it's like we don't want the Kool-Aid anymore. At least I don't. I don't want the Kool-Aid anymore. I don't want your bullshit. Let's just be real. And you like we need sort of to break that cycle of Kool-Aid. I think it can be dangerous sometimes if you're all in and this person will take your money because that's what they need, they want it, and they'll just serve you whatever they've got. And maybe that's just reheated nachos, as the kids say, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time,
I didn't know this
look
was.
at I'm so cool, but there if you don't do your research and
Yes.
you don't really take your time to understand, like, okay, who is this person in this industry? What are they talking about? It can be like I had a vocal teacher before the one I had who I really love her and she's a great person. I absolutely love her, but it wasn't her. She didn't go to school for it. It wasn't like her main gig, but I took everything she said and I did it and I did it and I did it. And I ended up having some really bad vocal issues and getting like nodes, this sort of nodes. And that's not her fault. And that's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is I didn't necessarily understand what I was wanting or needing education wise from the person I was going to. And so, and then I bought all in without necessarily having my own technique or my own base structure before understanding that. And so I think it's really important to understand what you're hiring out for. Understand the job that you're asking for. It's like now this person I just bought the program for, I've got all this knowledge up to here. Look at your beautiful dog. I love him
Please,
so
but
much. I love your butt and I love you.
Marley
Sorry, sorry about that. I had
protecting
to
us.
acknowledge him.
It makes me think, we'll see if he chills out on his own, we'll see. But it makes me think of like when I was first diagnosed with cancer and then I had someone help me out with like a restricted diet and I was taking all these supplements and she was wonderful and I really trusted her and I like was went all and she wasn't like trying to sell me anything. I was the one who was like,
Right.
you seem to know what's up. Like I would love and throughout she She, she would really try to empower me with knowledge. She would try to teach me about like why this supplement or why not the nightshades of like whatever, don't eat tomatoes, like those sort of things. And I just like it's so, a part of me, I think that's so important to be empowered in your knowledge, whether it's about this type of thing or about like a course to learn to sing or, and part of me is so trusting up to the expert in the thing, right? And I kind of, because life is so overwhelming and knowledge is so overwhelming sometimes, it's hard to learn, when you already have a lot in your brain.
Yeah.
That I actually do want to just like put all my power in that person's hand. And that's not bad. And it's, of course, that makes sense in certain scenarios, but it's not the best either, right? Like it's not, and I think I did try that for a period. And again, she was trying to give me that knowledge. It's not like she was just like, here's what you're supposed to do. But I just like, I'm not good at retaining certain things when they're not my, I don't even know what my specialty is. I think it's just like human behavior and like, I don't know.
Just being a sweet, sexy, smart, badass
Right. That's
entrepreneur.
right. That's what my expertise is.
That's your
All I
specialty.
have space for in here, in this vessel. Nightshades, no, no room for you.
No
Uh,
tomatoes. That's all I know.
yeah, that's all I know. But once again, it's not so simple, right? That's the
Yeah. Well,
moral of the story with everything we talk about in this episode is it's just not so simple.
it's just not fucking simple. And of course, when things go bad, or of course, when we want someone to tell us it's going to be okay. We want someone to have this knowledge that's going to help us be better or get better. And I think what I learned through my kind of vocal issues and coming back to like I had to relearn how to sing basically. And it was so scary, it shook my confidence totally, which maybe you can relate to that feeling of like something's wrong, I don't know what to do. And of course I wanted immediately to grasp for other people, but I started to look like I talk with my husband a lot. I started to look for people who that was their degree, like that was their specialty was voice and voice rehab. Then I did a couple sessions and I took the advice they gave and it started to feel better. That was like the first inclination was like it started to feel better. Then I started doing more technique and it started to feel a little better. And then things got better and like they're not 100% still. It's been like over a year. I'm still not 100%, but the like these little bites that I would take, and then physically I would feel better. Like the symptoms, basically some of the symptoms I had started to feel better based on the technique. And so I just kind of kept in one step at a time. And then now I trust her because all the things that she's given, and nothing has gotten worse based on what she's given me. And it's continued to get better. And that's the same with the teacher I just bought the program from, is even her free little 5 warm-ups she gave. Like my husband noticed a difference in 2 gigs immediately after these warm-ups. And so if I can get these little bits of things that make me believe and feel better and don't feel like I'm forcing, even if that's what they're saying. They're saying I should do this and I'm doing it, but God, something's still off. Then it's like I can start to step a little forward in trust. I can start to trust a little more. I can start to, and it's not that I'm buying the Kool-Aid that both of these people are serving to me. It's like they've given me actual things that have impacted me in a positive way, and they've changed some of this negative stuff to positive stuff.
And that is empowering.
Yeah, that
Mhm.
is still me owning and making that choice
Yeah.
and deciding to do that. But it physically and like gut feeling continues to feel right. And I think that's where alignment comes in, is it's like people will tell you all sorts of stuff that might be medically correct, but if it's not continuing to feel right, even if it did for a while, then something probably has to change.
Yeah. Totally. I want to talk about the creative act, just speaking of voice and all of that. But before that, I just want to share a mini story of I just went to the spa with my business partner Val. We share the well together. And so I brought a book. I was like, I'm reading this book called Between Two Kingdoms, I think it's called, by Suleika Jaoud, I think is her last name. She's with John Baptiste. And
Oh,
she was diagnosed with leukemia when she was 22. So this book is about her story. And I'm like over halfway through, but it's a bit intense and I have to kind of like sometimes take space. So I was like, this will not be the
mhm.
spa book that I bring to the spa today, to sit by the lake and float on the water.
Too intense for me at the
A
spa.
little bit. And then so there's this woman that I know from town. I coached her back in the day. Funny lady. And she gave my mom a gift to give to me, which was a book. And it was a small, small book. And it's by Sophie Kinsella, who wrote Confessions of a Shopaholic, I believe, right?
I was just going to say, okay, return to Confessions of the Shopaholic for your spa book. I was just gonna,
Yes.
she's one of my favorites.
So I took off the book cover because it was like very cheesy.
Oh, they're all
Just
bad.
it looks
I
like this
love
cute little
everyone. They're
navy
so
blue
shitty. I love
book,
them.
right? And it's like very small. I was like perfect, like pocket size, pretty much. And this woman had been like gave it to my mom and was like, Jamie needs to read this book. Guess what it's about? It's about this author, this writer, who then gets diagnosed with terminal brain cancer.
Oh, why?
And so, but now I'm like invested. I'm almost done the book. Like it's like a child-sized book. It's actually pretty great in that way. And I also want to know how it ends. I'll keep you posted. Um, and the
Please
title is something
do.
to do with like, how does it feel? I think that's what it's called. Something about feel or something. It's very on brand with what we're talking about.
I want to read. Well, she is such a charismatic writer, and it's like so cozy, and I just love her
Mhm.
characters. And Can You Keep a Secret? If you haven't read that, is one of my favorite like
Really?
cozy books.
I'm
Have
sure
you
it's
read
at
it?
a local thrift shop. I'll have to find it.
It's so good. It's this girl who gets like a new job and she's flying to her new job and she's a nervous flyer and she's on this flight next to this guy and she just like starts spilling all her shit, like all of her bad like I wear a G-string under this dress or just crazy secrets. Gets off, like calms down, goes to
That's
her
her new
new
box.
job and it's her boss. Yeah.
Of course it is. Oh my God, I want to read it. And then I want to watch it. It should be a movie.
It is a movie.
With who?
It is. I can't remember who plays
Can you keep
the
a
lead.
secret?
Can You Keep a Secret? It's now the movie was great, but it's not as good as the book. The
I'm
book was just so
sure.
charming and like funny, and so that's what got me into her. And I started reading Confessions of a Shopaholic, and they're just
Yes.
it's Hallmark
Alexandra.
style. There's not a lot of stress. There's a little bit, but not a
Laverne
lot.
Cox is in it.
Who?
Laverne Cox.
Oh my God, Laverne Cox! I love her.
Alexandra, her name is Alexandra Daddario. And
The Daredevil.
I recognize her. I'm just trying to see. Oh, she was in The White Lotus. That's why I recognize her. Now I really feel like we're Giggly Squad because they search things on the internet when they're
As you should. Yeah, they're gonna have us on, so we're just preparing for a cameo.
okay, so let's just like finish with a bang talking about the creative process because Joshua just, is it released? Is it officially released?
It's not until August 29th.
August 29th. It's currently June 30th. So August 29th. So we have a couple months, right?
Yeah,
You
so
still
close.
recording?
No,
I'll know what we're
I
talking.
finished recording like 2 or 3 months ago.
Okay. Okay. So, and then I'm writing this book that's like really in the final stages of editing. I still have to write the conclusion and figure out a book cover and all that. But
I can't
like we're at
wait.
the good part. We're at the good part. But we've been having back and forth this last while, which is also why we wanted to chat on this podcast for many reasons. But so that, we could share about how challenging, how like, when we talk of personal development. I think it's similar to running a business, to being an entrepreneur. They say that's the biggest personal development you'll do. And I believe that for sure. And so
Mhm.
is putting out there. I mean, it's just very vulnerable. It's like you're putting out there something that, like, honestly, when I'm like seeing these programs for like new book writers that are like, let me help you get your book out. And I'm like, obviously being promoted a bunch of those. And I really like that. But I have a guy helping me and that's all good. But then when it comes to like, and then like, let's get you like selling that book and like pre-launch stuff. And I'm like, honestly, I'm okay if no one buys it.
Yeah, I'm good this time. You know what? I'm good this time around.
To
Let's
my
just get it
family
out.
for
The
Christmas.
second one's going to be a real banger, but let's just get this.
You
Yeah.
too? You too?
Oh, for fucking sure. Yeah. Shit.
So good. No one needs to listen to it. No one needs to read it. We're good.
Yep. We're just gonna keep reading Sophie Kinsella.
Totally a
We're gonna release
passion
our shit.
project. I
Second
mean,
time round though, watch out.
yeah, then we're gonna feel good and ready. But
Yeah.
I think I will at the end have invested like 7 or 8 thousand, 7,500 maybe in like the edit. But like fair enough, this guy's been working with me for over 2 years, you know?
Yeah.
So I feel like that's
Yeah.
money well spent. But yeah, I'm like if I break even, that's cool. But if I don't, that's very cool too.
Oh,
Call
totally.
it a passion project, you know?
Yeah, I mean that's the only thing I think that keeps that flowing is it's like music is my passion and it's also my business as you're relating to right now. And that's the only thing I think I've never felt this way about something else where it's like it doesn't matter if I fail or not. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep learning. I'm going to keep pushing. But there are big failures and everything is personal
Yeah.
because it's your passion. So it's if it, any other job I've had, I kind of didn't give a shit because and not that I didn't want to do a good job, not that I didn't want to make an impact, but it was kind of like in 5 years this won't fucking matter. Like I don't care. But this all of it matters because it's personal and you're like putting yourself into this and then you're like here everybody judge it. Like I know that's not what it's for, but for sure they're going to read it or they're going to listen to it and they're going to judge it and it's extremely vulnerable. But I mean, how much did we learn? Like so much to get to where I am and that's what's hard is it's almost like I wish I could go back and redo it with all this knowledge
Yeah.
that I've learned
Totally.
and
Yes.
I wish I could I wish I could because it's hard to sit and I keep telling my husband this too. I'm like I need to figure out how to talk about this record in a way that feels like oh I'm so proud or oh I'm so excited because being proud is not the first thing that comes to mind about it because it was so scary and it was so vulnerable and it was so like I'd never done anything like this before. Do you know what I mean?
And we've talked about how, like, I know for me, I think there's similarities for you where I'm like, this has been in the process for so long that, like, and because it is a first, like what you're saying, but that I would do it differently if I were to start it today. So, it's being put out in my present version of myself, even though it's past me that created it more so, I would say, right? So, but you,
Yeah.
yeah, and like even I'm reading I have a 5-year journal that I don't always write in, but I did write in it like 5 years ago. Have you seen those? They're little like stumpy little journal books that have the date at the top. It'll say like June 29th, and then you put in the year. So it's on the same page. You could ideally, if you do this properly, you would see last year what you wrote and the year before and the year before. But the last time I wrote was like 2020, which is not that long ago, right? Like I was 35, I was coming into coaching, like, but some of the stuff I wrote, I'm like, oh my God, it's like I was 15. I'm
Yeah,
like, but it's so cute. I'm like cheering myself on. I'm like,
who is
this is
she?
gonna change my life. And like, I'm so proud of myself. I'm running the alignment series, like all of that. And I'm like, good job, me. Like, as much as it's so cringy to read it as if it's my like 14-year-old self's diary, but it's still like there's something really special about it. So I'm just trying to see it more like that. It was a version of me that was like really important too.
Yeah, that's I mean that's some advice I sort of got from the producer who helped me on the record. He's like this is like a capsule. It's like a snapshot of where you were at the time. And that's really hard because inevitably, when you're done with it, you are different. And so it's so hard to look back and be like, oh man, I could have done this better. I wish I could do this better. And the record is a tribute to my grandfather. So it's so hard not to scrap it and restart to make it better for him. He's not
Yeah.
to say yes or no. And it's almost very overwhelming. But I just have to continue to believe like I did the best I could at the time. I hope that people connect with what that version of me gave. And then immediately, now that it's almost out, I like want to make a second record and I have all this, okay, here's what I learned from the first one. Here's like it's a complete 180 of what I would do. I would do the second one entirely different, but it makes me want to go back in because I
Right.
think
So you're not like never again.
I'm not like Never Again, which I so thought I would be
Yeah.
at the end of it. And it's, I'm not going to sit here and say, "Oh, this album is Grammy Award winning or Grammy Award, like worthy." It's honest. It's like an imperfect album for imperfect people,
That's
and
huge.
I hope that people connect with what's on it because it's extremely vulnerable for me, and it was very scary to listen to it even after. I only listened to the whole thing one time because it's like it's done. That's what it is. And I listened to it, and it was hard for me because I couldn't be objective because it's like, oh, third song in, that's when you found out you had notes. Oh, you had to relearn how to sing. Every song you had to figure out how it was to sing differently. This was your grandpa's song that he wrote. So it was very like visceral for me to listen to. And I think I don't know what people will think because I almost can't be objective to this one. I think the next one, I hope so. But this one was so difficult and so much learning. And it's like, oh, I would have been embarrassed, but I didn't know, or like
So
so
great you did this though. It's so great. Even just like it's reminding me how great that I did this too, because once again,
it
just
is. I'm
no,
gonna read the
but I
shit out
just
of your book.
hearing you say this, it's like, of course this first album needed to come out. And like, of course this first book needed to be written, like, of course. So, and just coming back to the let them theory, um, because I don't know if you read it or know about it or whatever with it's Mel
Oh, tell me,
Robbins.
please.
So Mel Robbins is like this mindset guru, like coach or
So
whatever.
far.
And um, to keep it simple, it's basically like if someone's doing something you don't like, you just say let them. You say let them. But and so it was my book club book for the last like my homecoming membership that I had, and it was just a great reminder because by the end, at first it was my idea to do this book, and then we read it, and then I had listened to some podcasts about it, and I was like, this feels on brand, it's personal development, whatever. And then over halfway through the book, I was like, I'm so over this. Like, and then I listened to this podcast called If Books Could Kill, and they basically like pick apart self-help. Have you heard of that one? If Books Could
No,
Kill.
but that
I
sounds like I
feel
would
like you
love
would
it.
love it and like listen to the one on the Let Them theory, or they have ones on like other like Rich Dad, Poor Dad and like Atomic Habits and like older kind of personal development books. And one of the guys was like, I can't stop thinking about how my wife said this should be a children's book. Like it's just like the theory is actually so basic. But anyways, my point is that some of the women, most of the women in my group loved it. And they were like, this couldn't have come at a better time. And I was like, oh, this is so annoying. Like, and but I was like, this is how it's going to be. This is what it is. Like my book is going to go out there. Your album's going to go out there. Some people are going to be like, God, I can't listen. And some people are going to be like, this is life changing for me. This is so special for me and making me so happy. So it's like, that's part of it too, right? Is like, it's not going to please everyone and that's okay. We got to be okay with that.
No, no, it's not. And I think as a bullet point, I think the more that you talk about personal development, I really feel like that is your differentiator. Like the fact that you aren't buying into the Kool-Aid, the fact that you are like, well, I could take it or leave it. That book was half good, half shitty. And all the women were like, it's just everything to me. It's everything. Well, probably a handful of women who are on your side. But because they go to the book club and all the women say it's so great, they're like, oh, yeah, I loved it. Yeah, it's so good.
Nice.
But really, they're like, this is bullshit. And so we need somebody they can go to and say, this is bullshit, right? And then you validate them, you talk about that, like, because I think 75% of the industry is too much, because it's too much of a popular girl contest. It's too much of a, oh, everybody's saying it, so I feel kind of weird saying I don't agree with it,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, that's on brand too, or on point with the fact that I'm leading a free, I don't know what to call it. Did you see my thing about misalignment? The
No, but what
about
is the
misalignment? This.
misalignment, like miss independent but
Yeah,
misalignment?
exactly that. Exactly. Is that I was writing an email to my mailing list on Saturday. It's Monday today. And as I'm writing it, and I'm trying to get my thoughts out of like what I'm going through right now in terms of feeling like kind of misaligned and like just, questioning things, whatever. And feeling about how like this is a really interesting place to be. I think it's not a bad thing to feel the way I'm feeling. And then I was like, oh, I want to do a thing. Oh, I haven't done one in a while. Like, but I didn't want it to be like a workshop or like
Hmm.
so it's just a free, I'm calling it like a conversation on July 7th on next Monday. Hopefully this podcast can come out before then. I'll see what my lovely Hannah can do. But yeah, it's just going to be a conversation on misalignment. And then my like subtitle is called an alignment teacher, conversations with alignment teacher gone rogue or something like that.
Oh my
Alignment
God,
coach gone
I
rogue.
gotta
So
try to make it.
yeah, it's next Monday at 4 p.m. It's at the same time, actually, same time slot, um, Eastern Standard Time. Otherwise, the replay is available, so you just have to sign up. And if you're listening to this podcast after it's gone, after July 7th, then I can send you the replay. I don't know what's going to happen. Like, I don't want to, I have a bit of an idea in my head of like sharing a bit of storytelling, a lot of vulnerability, honesty, but I really want to like drop the buzzwords and like, I just want to
Hmm.
like strip things down, even though that feels buzzy. Um, but yeah, and I think part of it, like my idea is like part of it, I want to leave space to like for people to almost just like vent, like to speak out loud the shit, the thing that is because often it's like, no, okay, but let's shift our perspective and let's like get,
Right.
like there's always gratitude and things to be great, and like yes, and that's kind of like how I hope we'll like, move towards, but also I'm like, it is going to be what it is and we'll see. But it's just going to be an hour of, yeah, it's just space for people to feel. And like, I launched it, I put an email out and then I posted about it today and I think I have like 20 people signed up. So I just love it when like not that like it feels like I hit the mark on something, not to like boost my own ego once again, but more so in a way of like, okay, everyone's feeling it. Everyone's in
Yeah,
it. Everyone's going through their version of something like that feels unsettled. So like let's get together and like we don't even need to figure out a solution. Let's just get together. So that'll be
that
that.
sounds great. I mean, there's a lot of avoidance, I think, in personal development, in coaching. There's a, like you're saying, oh, there's gratitude or oh, there's this, but there is so much gritty shit that we don't like. Perspective shift isn't what we need to hear. Like there's a lot more that needs to be talked about and it's a lot deeper, it's a lot grittier.
Yeah.
And so when people start giving me this like fluffy avoidant talk, I am immediately turned off. And that's why I hope tons of people sign up for it and I'm going to try to make it because I think that's we want conversations about that. We want conversations about what's honest and what's real. I don't want you to tell me, well, if you just changed your perspective, you'd be
Yeah.
fine. And it's like, well,
Yeah.
I've been trying to change my fucking perspective for 35 years, Debbie. Like, we need to talk about something else. Like,
But I think too, like when I wrote the email and when like I was talking about how I've gone for acupuncture twice now, and both time they checked, there was two different acupuncturists and they checked my pulse and they're like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, to be honest, I'm not sure I'm okay. And like, and then I said in my email how I've been hesitant to share this because I don't want people to worry about me. But I'm like, there needs to be a change around that because I think not being okay is, I know we say that, like it's okay to not be okay, like that sort of thing, but truly like like I'm okay, like I'm obviously I'm okay, like there's places people can be that are dark, and that's when we need to like really be careful and not like have cries for help, like that are taking away from people that are really going through it, of course, but also
mhm.
it's okay to talk about being like, I'm not really sure how I'm feeling right now, but it doesn't feel great, right? Like it's
Right.
and like I am someone who comes off as like I'm pretty happy generally, and I still am, but it's like we can be both too. Like I can definitely like be have moments of pure joy and happiness, and then like literally 2 hours later I'm like crying in my bathroom. Like it's and that's okay. Like it's okay. It feels
It's
fucking good,
totally okay.
actually, right? And then I pick myself up and I'm okay. And it's not like shoving shit down that we're so good at doing, of masking, So just having
Well,
this
I think people, it's a cultural thing. I think, at least here in On Fire America, and maybe there too, that it's like we we don't tell each other like we don't ask if we're okay. We don't tell each other it's going to be all right. It's very customer servicey. Even in your dark, as soon as things get uncomfortable, people are uncomfortable. They don't want to talk to you about it. As soon as you talk about you're sick in one way or the other, oh, I hope you feel better. It's there's the and I think that goes for different industries, but the personal development as well. We don't want your customer service shit.
Yeah.
I don't need you to calmly and kindly deliver something. I need authenticity. I need realness. And that's my favorite part about watching live music is when they mess up because that is a peek into their humanity. It's
Yes.
like I love listening to live music, but I can listen to perfect music in your on your album, on your production. I come to the live music to experience it. And when you mess up and you recover, that's humanity and I don't like to shy away from it. So if somebody wants to talk about, I don't like surface level stuff. If you want to get down to it,
Yeah.
let's get down to it. And I think there's too much masking. There's too much, well, I hope you feel better, goodbye. And that's not what people need, especially
No,
right now.
absolutely. And it gives people permission, right? That's part of like these conversations. And I went to my niece's dance show, and she's in high school, and there were some dancers that were like dancer, like really, it was very well done considering they were like young teenagers. And my favorite was seeing when they're really in their dance, which is the whole time, is their face. It's kind of like a drummer, I feel like a drummer
Hmm.
has facial expressions that just they don't give a shit, and it doesn't look pretty. Like it doesn't look
Oh,
it's so expressive, and like it gave me shivers and made me emotional because I'm like, this is like a 14-year-old girl who has been told to be a certain way probably her whole life, and here she is just fucking expressing herself, and like her facial expression is not controlled because she is so in what she's doing. She's so in her body, and like that's what we need more of, is like that kind of like messy, just like doing those things that we love, and it doesn't matter how it looks, right? It's how it feels. Okay, well, that ends the podcast because it's what Joshua's been saying the whole time.
boom.
No, but honestly, we could definitely keep going. This hour flew by. I hope it did for you listeners. I'm sure it did. But I will ask those last couple of questions, which is what makes you feel aligned?
Yeah, I think I'm going to stick with my original answer on that, which is trying to be aligned with my gut
Right.
instinct.
Perfect.
Just trying to listen to that is what brings me alignment. And that's what's helped me to make authentic decisions that feel right and keep me on the correct path
Yeah.
is taking an opportunity, whatever that might be, giving a minute for it to digest, and then how does it feel? Even if every checkbox makes sense to be yes, if it doesn't feel like yes, I try to say no. And later on, there's a glaring spotlight where that would have been a bad decision.
Yeah.
And so that's what is alignment is feeling like for me right now is just follow what your gut feeling is and try to be okay with that. It's not maybe going to be right every time, but I think like you said earlier, most of the time it is. And you even if you don't understand why, you might see later, but you might not. You're probably on the right path if you listen to your body.
And I feel like the answer to this question will be similar, like on par with this, but what does not belong to you?
What does not belong to me currently is that Sophie Kinsella book that I need to purchase. But but no,
Heck.
I think what does not belong to me is the ever growing, like, from me and from the culture for things to have to be fucking perfect.
Yeah,
Like we've talked about. That just doesn't belong to me. And it's like not it's something that I fall into, and it's pressure from myself, it's pressure from society and people outside. But perfection, I think, ruins a lot of authenticity. And you have to, I think you can relate to that in the creative sense, where it's like you could sit and pick apart your creations forever before you release them. And
yeah,
there's a level of that that is good that you want to edit, you want to make it as good as it can be, but it will never be perfect. And that's not what it's about. It's not why you're doing what you're passionate about. And it's hard to remember because we want to present the best light. We want things to be the best they can be. But perfection, I think for me, if I let it, it could ruin more than it can help.
absolutely. Yeah. What's the name of your album?
Monty.
Monty? Is that your grandpa's name?
Yeah, that was my grandpa's name.
Love
Yeah.
that. I love you. Thank you so much for being here today.
I love you. Thank you for having me and my sassy self.
Thank you all for listening. I still have a Buy Me a Coffee page, so if you enjoyed this episode, you could buy me a coffee. I'll put the link
Please
in.
go buy her at least two coffees immediately.
That's like $12 now, though.
Give her $12 to $24 immediately.
Thank you all for listening, and there'll be another episode coming your way soon enough, I'm sure. All right, bye, everybody.
Bye.